many of the forums say that where the wires go between the door and into the body of the car, that's where the wires break, and that's what causes the problem. So what I did was, with a bit of squeezing and a bit of pushing and pulling, took the rubber boot off from the door side, so it's just like that. Checked all these wires weren't damaged. I'd spent a bit of time on this, looking and making sure there's no chafing, no bare wires or anything like that, which were all fine. Then on the top, so this is where it goes into the car, you press that top lump downwards quite firmly, it will flick out. You need to lift it, give it a good wiggle. It's a bit easier with the door slightly shut. I just have to put the camera down, now I've got it out. So like I say, if you shut the door a little bit, you can get this out. This is then the plug and everything. So I had a look at all the wires, I couldn't find any problems, all the wires felt okay and the plugs and everything. This part on the car side is sealed, so you can't actually get into that. And this is where my problem was. We'll come back to that in a minute. So in terms of testing, if we look at this module, you've got two plugs on it. If you take this one out by squeezing that little notch there, and then that's what the module looks like. If you turn it this way, this one here is the live. So basically you count from the top. So the one nearest my finger on the left is 1, the next one down is 2. These go all the way down to 11, and then 12, 13. So number 2 and number 13, the one on the left is the live from the fuse at the back of the car, the one on the right is an earth. So what I need to do was test that we were actually getting a live feed from the back of the car and also an earth. So you can test the live or the ground first. I'm going to demonstrate the ground in this case. So again, with the multimeter, turn it to the resistance check. I've picked up my wire from the back of the car, the one that was by the fuse box that I clamped on, because I can hold that together with my probe, so hopefully I can put those two together. So what I'm doing is just holding, I can't really show you, but I'm holding my probe and my wire together in one hand. And then on the connector, it's 13, so it's this one here. As you can see, that's beeping, so we know we've got earth all the way to the back of the car. So now we need to check this other one for a live feed. So change the multimeter back to my 20. I'm still keeping my ground earth wires together in my hand, the ones that I was holding together, the probe and the wire, and then putting it into there, into this one nearest me, checking the voltage on the meter, and I've got the voltage coming through. Now that I didn't have, and this was where the problem was, there was no power there, which meant that basically there was a break in the power somewhere between that fuse in the back of the car and this connection, which is on that plug there. So again, we wanted to check this connector here to find out if the problem was here. I'm just going to put the phone down and disconnect it to show you what's going to happen. And what I'm going to do to disconnect it is on the top there's a little clip there which you pull upwards like that, and then the main plugs, if I can do it with one hand, will pull out like that. Okay. So this is the one that goes to the door. There are 3 large pins and a load of little pins. The 3 large pins, one is the live, one is the ground, or live being the 12 volt, one is the ground, and one is a LIN bus or a CAN. I'm not 100% sure, but it's basically the way the modules communicate with the door module, the main sort of brains of the car. Sorry if you're in the trade, I know that's not the technical term, but there we are. We knew the ground was working on this plug here, so what we're going to do is just try and find out which one that is in the car. So to demonstrate this, the probe for the multimeter, I just pushed it into the back of the socket, and then this one here is the earth, so I'm just sort of doing probe to probe here. In the socket coming out of the door, on the big pins, if I just touch it there, that's the earth. We knew that was okay. So if I now move the probe to the live side, I'm just going to check. Right, so I've just moved it across to this one, so the probe is in the back of that, just so I don't have to hold it, and it's all right through there. And then in the socket, you can see it's this pin. Now I don't know if you can see, but that pin there is slightly shorter, and this was where my problem was. I wasn't getting a live feed from the fuse box at the back of the car to that pin. Well, I was getting it through to here, which on my car, I don't know whether the wires changed colours at any year, but on this one, that big yellow one with the blue, red stripe down it is the live feed from the fuse. So you can test that by putting your 20 volt setting on your multimeter, popping it in there, and then putting it to ground and just checking you've got 12 volts there. Assuming you've got 12 volts there, you know it's coming through from the back of the car, which it should be. There's no reason why any of those should come out. But when I was testing from here to the plug here, there was a break. So the next problem was, this is all sealed, it's all joined onto the plastic, but I found that actually you can separate it, which I'm not going to be able to do with one hand, so I'm going to separate it and then come back to you. So to separate it, it's a bit of fiddle. That's the plug, and I don't know if you can see there's that whitish tab, and then to the left of that there's that groove. I can't really do it, I can't hold it, and you slide a screwdriver in there, push up on the side underneath the rubber seal, and it all pops apart into 2 separate bits, which means you can get to the wires in the plug. And it was at this point, it's still not obvious, that I noticed that as I was moving things, the main power pin, that shorter one there, was actually moving, and inside here, with a bit of testing with the multimeter, this wire is going to the single pin at the bottom on the right, which was our ground, earth, and then on the left hand side was this black wire. But this black wire has actually got 2 red marks on it, but I can't show you it on here, but there is actually a couple of red marks, and they're the live coming from the fuse box. And what happened is, I thought the wires had come out of that metal pin, but goodness knows how, the actual pin had snapped in half, probably just from movement inside the door. So it meant that I had to get that pin out, which was just a bit of poking around with a screwdriver, and then eventually I managed to get the wire out and sort of wrap the pin around it and put it back in with what was left, which is, as you can see, it's shorter, but as it's long enough to contact into the main block, it actually works. So I'm going to put all that back together, put all my door lock together, and then hopefully it will work. And the reason I say hopefully is because I can't remember if I said earlier, I bought a second-hand door module, and when we started this video it was the second-hand one that was on here, but I'm putting the original one back on. Hopefully that will work, and we'll have central locking again. So putting everything back is the reverse of what you did. So skip through, go to the end, and we'll see if it's working at the end. One thing I did mention at the start when we were talking about the multimeters was that I use a probe as well, and before I put the trigger panels back on, this is the type of probe I use. I think it was probably about, I don't know, £8 or £9. The way it works is, if you remember on this connector, this one on the right at the bottom is the live, so it's actually quite good to test now. And as you see, I touch it. Sometimes if you've got an older car you need to touch metal with your finger as well, and you can see the circuit okay, and that means we're getting power through from the back of the car. Take it off, you touch it, just double check it, I'm going to pop it in, and circuit okay, so it just means we've got power. So like I said, put everything back together in the reverse of what we did previously. I've now got that back together and put it in there. Just put the module in here. There we are, make it clip. Remember to connect your power connector to your door switches when you put the trim on, and then put all your screws back in, and we'll pick up from there. So there we are, we're all back together, and we're going to just make sure that these switches and everything work first. So we're going to put it on the ignition. That window goes up and down. That was one thing I found. The one touch where you pull and hold doesn't go up. Now the way to sort that out is you pull it up to the first click, go to the top, let it off, then pull it all the way and hold it for a couple of seconds. It reprograms the window. Press it down, it should go all the way down, pull it up, and then it's learnt that where the top is, and you do that on all the doors. Let's check the mirrors. You can't see that, but it is working. It's sort of turning. That's okay. And the last thing is central locking. One click, two click, flashing lights, door locked, unlock. Job done. So hopefully that's helped you out and give you some ideas where to start looking on yours. Obviously with mine it was on the driver's door, could have been on any of the doors, but I'm guessing that in most cases it's going to be down to those wiring things. I know the earlier models, sort of pre this shape, they had a round type grommet on there and they were very prone for it. Obviously this you know, is a few years old and it's one pin that's gone, so there we are. Hope that's helped you.